cloud. Fantastic. So we're here. Gary, we're good to go.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for attending this presentation this morning. My name's Gary Knapp, welcoming you to the call. And this morning we have Sharon Whiteman, who is presenting Mannatech for Wellness, Lifestyle and Purpose. Now, Sharon has worked in the field of health and wellness for almost 40 years. She was a critical care specialist nurse for 20 years and has run a business focusing on nutrition for more than 20 years. Sharon considers herself blessed in that she's able to learn from some of the leading global experts in their field, including Robert and Kim Kiyosaki. Learning about financial literacy and residual income changed the course of her life. She has almost 3 decades of experience leading and partnering teams from all walks of life. Business partners, wellness clients and volunteers alike have appreciated her calm manner, engaging style and commitment to benefit the lives of others in their goal for extra income, wellness, freedom and purpose. Sharon is passionate about this message. She has a knowledgeable, engaging and inspiring style. So, a wonderful presenter, and I'll hand over to you, Sharon.
Gary, thanks so very much. Bless you. There's the background noise there. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this presentation this morning, or whenever you happen to be watching this or reviewing it at a later date. As you can hear, Gary and myself, and usually Diana, who's on holidays right now, have been hosting this weekly call for our company called Mannatech for many, many years now. And that's because what we have in Mannatech is quality. What we have is something that deserves to be shared and to be celebrated. Really, it deserves to be shouted on the rooftops. So if you're new to this information, you know, yeah, I can expect you to be saying that. But hopefully by the time you've reviewed this information and heard some of our stories, you can get the authenticity and the power and the potential of what's being put in front of you. So really, this presentation is a little bit about us, but it's really all about you. Going back to this beginning, as Gary said, I started with Mannatech 20 years ago now. And I was introduced to this country because I had a very significant health challenge, and one that caused me not to be able to work, and I was on a disability pension at that time. And that was very scary for me. I was a clinical nurse specialist in critical care. I was paid for 4 different specialties: open heart, intensive care, emergency, and coronary angioplasty. And I was scared. Western medicine, you know, they didn't have anything, and I knew I was sick, and they kept offering me antidepressants, and I thought, you know, even though I tried them, because I'm not against Western medicine, I'm really into integrative medicine. I knew in my heart of hearts it wasn't what was right for me. And then women at a dinner party, I was just out with friends, and there are some women that were here from America, and they're talking to me. They said, "You have to hear about this product." And I was super skeptical. I mean, nosebleed high if you look on the Richter scale. And I just couldn't believe that. If this was something so special, like they're saying it, why was I hearing about it at a dinner party? You know, I was a nurse and I was used to hearing about science, but this was a strange presentation from my perspective. It made all my alarm bells ring off. I was very conservative at that time, and I've learned now that sometimes I didn't know what I didn't know. So, you know, they said one sentence to me, which I encourage you to evaluate today if you're new to this information. They said, "Listen, this is just education. You know, it can't hurt you, never harmed a soul by sharing it. If it makes sense to you, great. I can answer your questions and see what options are right for you. And if not, then there's no harm done." And I thought, well, fair enough. I can't say no to that. And so I did. I listened to, at that time, it was a cassette tape in my car. And I was blown away, to be honest. It was a light bulb moment. And I really knew that even if this wasn't the whole solution to my health situation at the time, it had to be the foundation, because ultimately what made sense to me is that our food no longer is enough, and that synthetic supplements don't, you know, while a good stopgap where research is at, it's not the ideal scene. And I was really attracted to embracing and giving my body food-based supplement support to build that, you know, the function, like the terrain of my body, and give my body the best possible chance of a full recovery. And so that's where I started. Fully recovery, I did. I went on to have a terrible encounter with a tick, and that gave me something called Lyme disease, and that really impacted my health. But I can tell you, what I did was I took more of our supplements, and it's allowed me to be one of the best of my peers in the Lyme disease community. So I feel very fortunate. So what you're seeing right now in front of you is, what this is all about you. It's not about me. It's not going to be about Gary or Rhonda. We're here to share our perspective, and you can hear me. It was really important to hear from different people. And I once I really started, then I listened to all kinds of people because I wanted everybody's perspective, because I like to research the fors and against, a really broad perspective of information, and then make my own informed decision. So, and this has grown now for me. It is about my life on my terms, not only with my health and wellness, and when I'm dealing with medical practitioners or naturopaths, I start to build my own balance, and I partner with people who are willing to work with me, my priorities, my questions, and to really honor me in that whole journey. I personally have found that quite hard to find someone like that in the medical profession. And I'm, really drawn to the integrative physicians to partner with me to go forward to be the healthiest person I can be. It's also expanded for me though, even though it started with wellness. Interestingly, like you heard from Gary, I did have the privilege of working with Robert and Kim Kiyosaki. Now, Robert wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Kim has gone on, while she was in the background at the very beginning, I can assure you I know them personally, and she was very involved. But it was till later she started to come out more into the open. She wrote her own book called Rich Women. And I've gone on to be super passionate about women in business and why every woman, and next week we're having a presentation like this about men in business. All of us, every family, every household really deserves to have this kind of business and secondary income stream. And for some people, it moves to a primary income stream in every household. And I think if we are all in the same room right now, and we could look at each other and we'd all be nodding our heads, that it's a very scary and financially destabilizing time on our planet. Like, there's lots of issues, but if we could, I'm sure we could all come to the same agreement that every household could do with a backup income stream, and also sometimes a primary income streams, or a better mission, or something they're really passionate about. So that's what, that my passion has grown from wellness to embrace, empowering people, giving people choice, be able to live their life on their terms. And also there's a component of mission to this, which I'll expand on shortly. So the first thing, again, the most important person in this conversation is you. What's your situation? What makes you happy? And what's missing in order for you to have that? So many people that we talk to, they want things. You'll see the list on the right side of your screen right now. They, maybe their house isn't what they want right now. Many haven't had a vacation in years, or the kind of dream vacation that they sometimes see on our screens. There's a lot of visuals at us these days from every angle. Some people, and that was true for myself. I had a career I was very proud of and passionate about, but I started to not feel a value alignment with that career. I started to realize that Western medicine was only part of the picture for me, and that while it's really valuable and you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak, it's not the full picture for wellness, is it? We do a great job in emergency medicine and advancements when when the car's already gone off the cliff. Sometimes you need Western medicine because you need help to get back stabilized. And then you can learn about wellness and do that integrative approach to your situation. And some people don't have any time with their children or things that they're passionate about. They're not seeing their savings account going up. Sometimes it's the credit card debt that goes up instead. And some people just want security. All you need to do is watch this election campaign right now in Australia. And you'll start to see how many people, the issues for people around being financially secure, and what we were promised 50 years ago is no longer the truth for your retirement. And so very sadly, and it's frightening to see what's happening to our elderly retiring now, and it's only going to get worse. So really, it's looking more and more like our retirement is our responsibility. And I can tell you, if you're listening to this and you're young, you can start now and just make an extra $500 a month and put that away, and that's your Social Security. Or some people will just love this as a profession. So that the most important thing right now as you're listening to this is really dig deep in your heart and soul. And what of these questions are most important to you? What issue here or what goal here? Some of us are more driven to move towards our goals, towards what we want. And some of us are more motivated to move away from pain or away from what's not okay. So I know for me, sadly, I was the move away from pain gal. I had to have a wake-up call for me to open my mind to look at something different. And, now I'm grateful, so very grateful for that wake-up call, because it's brought me to this. So as I said, the story is about you. So the question to you to be evaluating right now, would you prefer to increase your income or shrink your dreams? So at that point, I made that decision. I was frightened as anything. I had no skills in starting a home business. I had no skills, and I didn't believe in myself. But interestingly, with that foundation of Robert and Kim's education, in retrospect, I now see that was the perfect, God sent this to me and put it in my lap, because I had the education, but I wouldn't have had the courage without somebody sort of pushing me into taking a look at this. So I'm sure many people could be nodding your head right now in recognition that that's familiar to you. Or if you're brand new to this information, you might be seeing that as well. So as I said, it's about our education. How does your income flow? So I had the privilege, as I said, and the blessing to learn from Robert and Kim Kiyosaki. I learned all about this cash flow quadrant. This is his work. And I learned that how I was raised in my family, which was, I was raised, as you heard from the number of years I've been doing different things, you'll realize that I was born in the 50s. And in that time, in my family makeup, women were either a nurse or a secretary. That's what was, and I also hear some people say teacher was added to that list. That was, for whatever reason, that wasn't in mine. But I could be a nurse or a secretary, and they told me, my husband then could work, and wherever he would go, I'd be able to get part-time income somewhere, honoring his career as primary. And the world has changed, hasn't it? It's no longer the case, and moms and dads work now. Single women, single men, everybody's out there for their own, really, having to look after themselves. Many people, though, haven't had the opportunity to learn about this education. So this cash flow quadrant that you're seeing on your screen, on the left-hand side, basically what Robert Kiyosaki did is he looked at the way money comes into our lives, whether it's our household or our business or our income or our job, and put that in 4 different categories. So on the left-hand side is where you're working and what he calls trading time for money. So that's what we call, for purposes today, linear income. So you're either an employee with a job or self-employed, and that includes people like lawyers, doctors, contracting people who, when they stop, so they have to earn enough money in order to take time off, don't they? When they stop, the money doesn't come in, especially for self-employed. And on the right-hand side, Robert Kiyosaki outlines and highlights 2 categories called business owner or investor. On the right-hand side of this quadrant, this is leveraged income, what we call residual income. It's money that eventually, as you get it stabilized, will come in while you're sleeping. So for the purpose of this presentation, a business owner here is a big business owner. This is someone that's got such a big business with probably over 500 employees that they could walk away from that business and say, take a year off, and that income is so stable that it would either stay stable or even grow at sometimes. And then investor, I think we'd understand that they're people that are using their money. And now investors, often there's a misperception that investors are big money investors. But that's not true. They're one of the things that Robert Kiyosaki teaches, that very basic income people can spend less than they earn and do something really clever with that extra and invest and become more financially stable. So a lot of people are doing that with shares or Bitcoin or real estate. There's different ways you can do that, and you don't have to necessarily, well, it's getting harder in real estate, but you don't necessarily have to be rich to do the right thing with that extra that it's about what you're spending and how you're prioritizing your spending, isn't it? So the interesting, I don't know if you noticed here, on the left-hand side of this quadrant, that's where 90% of us exist, but we only control about 10% of the wealth. So you only need to watch your TV or your newspapers or your Facebook or Twitter thread to see that this is really true, and it's actually becoming an emergency right now, and probably an ethical dilemma, but we won't go there. And on the right-hand side, there's only 10% of people globally, but they control 90% of the global wealth. So there, the right-hand side is taking advantage of compound and leveraged income. The left-hand side, and that includes new opportunities like Uber, Airbnb, and Amazon, because they're ways people, yes, can get more freedom, can't they? And they can have some kind of control, but it's still bringing, it's still income that stops unless you're actually working. And this quote I love from Warren Buffett, one of the world's wealthiest men: if you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work for the rest of your life. And so I know we've got Rhonda on the call this morning, and she'll talk about that, about, you know, what are the priority for our retiring community, for people in there, our elderly people like myself, or who are looking to work. We're down the last couple of decades before needing that extra income. This is really critical information. And I can tell you, you'll hear me mention this, I feel passionate about this. It's part of the ethics of who I am. People out there, people that you know and that I know, are praying for what we have. And it's our job to be the best we can in making sure they have access to this education. And then they make fully informed decisions. So what we're talking about here is choosing positive compounding. So a good example of compounding in a bad way is credit card debt. So you have a certain amount on your credit card, and that will always get, even if you're paying the minimum amount, that you're still getting in more and more trouble, aren't you? And that interest just keeps compounding, but it's compounding as a heavy load on your back, as opposed to what we're looking at today is something that is a networked business, and it is compounding in the positive way. So as you get started, and we'll show you how this works, you're gradually getting something that's growing, and that's the potential of it, and it's paying you money with less and less hours for you down the track. That's ideal scene. So taking a look, if you're here because you want to change your financial situation, you need to choose what will build you an asset. Look at the value of what will give you as opposed to what you'll invest. So, you know, we would have all had friends that were looking at different options, maybe for earning income, maybe even looking at buying a business or a franchise or starting one yourself. There's a lot of overhead risk and startup costs. So you look at really what you want to do is look at the potential is for you to make it. And there's a few pictures here to help you understand that. So residual income, even if you started and say, listen, you know, I just want an extra $500 a month that would stabilize my family situation. And because I love what I do, you know, or I only want to work part-time. I want to work around my kids and I just need a little bit extra. That $500 to $700 a month, if you think about this from a financial literacy perspective, is the equivalent of $100,000 in the bank at 5%. Now, I see all kinds of debates about this. There typically is only 2 to 3% available to us in a savings account at the bank. And that some people, I've seen someone say, oh, I can get you 7%, but really the average is 2 to 3%. So this $500 to $700 a month through a leveraged income business is a really powerful asset. And that some people, as you see there, they'll just want a car payment, school fees, holiday savings, whatever it is for you. You're a total choice of how much you participate and what your goals are. And then think, you know, obviously some people want to go to 1,000 a month. Again, that's equivalent of 200,000 in the bank, earning income interest for you. And for some people, that's real leverage and release, or maybe total support for a mortgage payment, isn't it? So what we're talking about is the best leveraged income system. So if you've ever had a negative thought about network marketing or leveraged income business like this, you're not alone. I was completely and totally closed. And I have to repeat that I did learn what I didn't know I didn't know what I didn't know. And I now see this as the best equal opportunity, income opportunity there is on the planet. So ultimately simplified, instead of you starting up a business, have to do everything, have all the skills, like the high-end skills of marketing and, the IP and the IT and the getting everything ready that you have to, employees, everything like that. Our company does all that. So they do all the glossy marketing, making sure the regulatory issues for our products are good for every country, every region. They do all the manufacturing. They hold the stock and the storage and the warehousing. They handle the distribution. Our job is to choose a company that we feel ethical, proud, and passionate about, and we're the front line. We're their army in the field, educating about what we have, and as you'll see, we have obviously a whole range of wellness technology. We also have a business opportunity for people that want extra income. And we also have a mission in which we feed malnourished children. So that it's a win-win-win, really, and people get passionate, excited to partner with us. And what we do then is help people make informed choices as to whether this is right for them or not. So a home business, just some facts you may not be aware of. Globally, there's 100 million people involved in selling. That's a 2015 fact. US, it's 182 billion in annual sales. So this is not something to go, this is a little thing that's going to go away. This is massive, and I believe it's the answer for income stabilization going into the future. Australia, it's 20% of the Australian natural healthcare market, 10% of the cosmetics market, and the Asia Pacific region represents 45% of global sales. So, we're only in a small percentage of Australian households or Australasian households at this moment. So we've got some work to do because people need to know about us. So if this is all making sense to you and you're thinking, oh, okay, well, maybe this isn't as scary or weird as I was thinking, how do I make the choice of what company is right for you? So for me, you need to look for something that's in a market that's growing. And there's nothing more powerful than the wellness market right now. People are wanting to stay healthy naturally. The downside or maybe the lack of ethics, we could debate this, of the pharmaceutical industry in bed with medicine, in bed with maybe governments. We're starting to see, it's starting to be exposed, isn't it? So there's so many people now that have a question in your mind, go, gee, I maybe need to take responsibility for my own education, my own choices. So I love that we're a wellness company. And from a business perspective, people are looking for more wellness. People are looking for a better quality of life in their career. People are looking for businesses that want to give back. There's purpose involved with this, a very high. So in partnering with Mannatech, you're choosing to join in something that already has a wave going, already is market driven, because people are looking. As a matter of fact, and I reiterate, they're praying for what we have. To also give you an example of that, which is a bit of a joke really, but to explain that, you want, from a business perspective in evaluating what you choose, that growth market is really important. And to make it sort of silly, like for instance, CDs are now just about gone, cassettes are long gone. Those kind of markets that were shrinking, you have to be aware wellness is not going to shrink. People wanting more purpose and feeling more ethical with what they're doing is not going to shrink. The need for social entrepreneurial work, which is meaning a business that has a mission attached to it at its very core, is not going to disappear. So introducing Mannatech. We've got a broad range of integrated health, targeted health, weight and fitness, skincare. We've got some home living products. And the thing, look at that. The most important thing probably in this whole presentation is there's an average 9-year customer loyalty. You think people would be on average, or people like myself, I'm going on my 21st year of taking these products, giving these products to my body for wellness every single day. How many companies that have people that committed? And you know why? It's a few different reasons. One is we've got exclusive technology. That's my number one passion. And again, my kids have had this every single day, and it's my go-to product for wellness and immune function. And it is something that's now been proven that is essential for our and necessary for every cell function and for our wellness and so many biological processes, every biological process in our body. But it's also proven that this particular nutrients, this constellation of nutrients, have a 75% deficiency in our modern diet. So it doesn't take long, it doesn't take Einstein to figure out, as our nutrition of our food goes down for all kinds of reasons, our body's needs go up, and we need to, it's now scientifically proven, and we won't go that into this in depth now, but we can offer you that information. Scientifically proven, it's no longer a luxury to supplement, it's now a necessity. So the other thing, you can see their money back guarantee. We've got a 90-day money back guarantee. I'm scanning back in 20 years, I maybe had 1 or 2 people change their mind, and it's not necessarily that the products didn't work for them, but for all kinds of reasons. And that's astounding. It's really amazing. People do not take that up, because these products, if they're committed and will partner with us, these products work. So it's also a company with experience. You know, if you're been invited to this to take a look at the business and earning income in partnership with us, this company is now 25 years old. It's operating, I think, in 27 countries now. We've got multiple patents, and we're always looking at unique technology, which, you know, is important from a wellness perspective, because, you know, it's quality, because you can't get crap patented, I can tell you that. But it's also important from a business perspective, because you get to represent something that's on the leading edge, it's innovative, it works, and it's proven. We're publicly listed, we've got millions and millions invested in research and development, which is unique. You know, when we are company leaders, and we've got a great visionary leader, when they go to the broad conferences within our industry, we're revered, and the other companies are jealous of us, because they know they don't have what we have as far as our commitment to research, because it's not necessary in the nutritional supplement industry to prove that your products work. You can just go on Google and look up, oh, vitamin C does this, and you can sell vitamin C. We're completely different. The deeper you look at us, the better we get. And again, we don't do anything that's not safe and not scientifically proven. And, you know, I would put my reputation and I put my children's health on the line in partnership with this company. Now, we're here about the money, aren't we? And the good news is that, again, with a long-standing committed company, they continue to move with the times. And not all companies do. You know, sometimes things change in the industry, and we have to keep up and be innovative. And we are in how we partner with income as well. So you can see here, simplified, and it is simple. And it's best that you don't make it complex. Now, we're going to have some analysts, which I'm not, that want to know every single detail. And that's fine. We can offer that to you. But today is an overview. So the first step, if this is making sense to you, your first step is to set up a business unit. Now that means you register an associate account, which is a particular account with our company, which we have 2 accounts. We have accounts for customers and an account for business partners. You're going to hear some new words like associate and directors and some labels here that won't make any sense to you, but it doesn't matter. So you set up your type of account that's an income earning account. It's called an associate account. And you create 500 ppv, which is just another word which means business volume. Now, some people do that with 2 or 3 people. Some families want at least 500 ppv. They're not, you know, they just want to give that to their families. So that can be just you and your income in the business unit. But for most of us, it's us and a few customers. At that point, you're already starting to earn income. There's a 15% first order bonus, which is, you know, acknowledging you for the work and the integrity that you put into educating this person that's partnering with you for wellness or technology or income or purpose. And then there's other bonuses that come into play as this grows. The next step is to find 2 people like you who want to earn income. You help them do exactly the same thing. They set up their business unit, work to getting 500 volume in that business unit with their own orders and customers. And that gives you something called the Team 2 bonus, which is 125. But there's also volume targets for our business. The thing I love about Mannatech is whether the names make sense, that you'll gradually get on top of them, but you've got goalposts to aim for. So you don't just come in and go, well, what do I do next? And have to set up your own, like, well, I have a target for 6 months or a target for 1 year growth. We've got a map for you to follow. You just follow the map. You follow for the next goal. Okay, I want that figure. and you do as you're told, and you partner with the person that brought you into the company, and you do these steps, and your income gradually grows. So now you're making about 206 a month and more. Step 3 is to help 2 more. So you want to set your goal for team 4, which is 4 partners for income, all building their business unit at 500, and then helping 4 people to do the same. And as you can see, once you're at step 4, helping your 4 associates build their business units and then help their 4, you're now growing to the next volume level, and the average income here is around $1,000 a month. So if you see here, at step 3, you're earning asset income. So that's around almost $500 a month. That's the equivalent of having that $100,000 in the bank at 3% interest, isn't it? Or at step 4, that's the one that's, doubling that. That's, almost 3 times. That's 300,000 in the bank at 5%. So this is, and you're doing this in partnership. Some people do this quickly. Some people, this takes 6 months. Some, doesn't matter if it takes you a year. Some people are very part-time. They just want to gradually get to their 2,000 a month, and they have a 40-year goal to have a better retirement. Some people are so passionate. This is a perfect career choice for them. Also, you need to know that you're going to run across people that are wanting to create or replace 6-figure and higher income. Our top income earner, I think he's awarded as somewhere in the top 10, but I think it's number 7 income earners in all time in the direct selling industry. So if you come in and you learn and you put your time and skills to it, or you have lots of, people do get a leg up sometimes. They have great contacts, or they've had some skills in communication or whatever first. You can definitely earn whatever you want in this company. But the next step is something we call presidential director, and that's an average of 5,600 income in Australia. So if you're looking here from another country, or you're in our region in New Zealand or Singapore, the figures be a little bit different, but it gives you the picture, doesn't it? Now these figures, there could be 200 people in your organization, or depending on this, again, each person's volume that they choose, sometimes it's less people that are ordering more volume. And at the bottom, I think it's really important. So you can see the numbers, and this is where, remember we were talking leveraged income, the good and the bad, the credit card as one example of bad leverage, and the leveraged income business like this as an example of positive leveraged income. You'll see here at each step, there's 4, first there's just you, and then you find your 4 people. When you're helping them find their 4 people, it's 16. And you can see that grows very quickly at different levels and all you're doing is the same steps. And you actually don't have to know the extra bonuses, because there's actually 6 ways to earn income. I'm only demonstrating a couple of them here, but they all start to trigger in the background as you're just helping your find their 4, find their 4, find their 4, and all the way down. And just continue to repeat that process, get better and better at it. So this quote at the bottom is part of Kiyosaki's coaching. I feel so grateful for God to put mine. It was all random. I never chose any of this. They just came into my life, and I said, okay. The compounding effect that we're picturing here is what gives the power of the rich to very ordinary people. And who do you know that could use extra income, who could use and get the passion for leveraged income, and who could change their life? So the other thing to be really aware of and cognizant of is that you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. So we have events to learn more from. We have training. The company has training. We have this weekly training. There's training everywhere for you to build your skill sets. We recommend you feed your brain, because I know for me, personal development has been the most important thing for me to keep growing and moving forward in my business. I didn't believe in myself. I very quickly believed in the technology. I very quickly believed in the ethics of the company, because I did my skeptical due diligence and listened to everyone. I started to hear common threads, and I thought, well, these people all can't be lying. But you have to feed your brain, because there's a lot of power in what you focus on. And most of us, I'd say 90% of us, are not educated in the skills to what we focus on. And thank goodness we can do this for our young people now. And there's also mentoring. The person that brings you in and their greater team, and if it's, like myself, my greater team, things happen for them and I'm sort of on my own, I have our community. We all come together and make ourselves all the best we can be. And there's lots of support out there for you. So the other thing, as I mentioned at the beginning, we partner with a company called, no, it's not going to come to me right now. Oh, the M5M Foundation. And our mission is Mission 5 Million, which means right now, and it's more now than this, but there's at least 5 million children dying every single year around the globe who are malnourished. They're simply malnourished. And every time I purchase, so for 20 years now, every purchase I've made has triggered a donation to a malnourished child somewhere around the world. So we present our technology, and we now have, Sarah Bowen, who's now running the M5M Foundation. She's been creating some incredible partners with the distribution aspect. So we have our technology, and then we've got companies that are already out there providing services to malnourished children, charities around the world in third world areas and also disadvantaged areas of our first world countries. It doesn't matter where there's a feeding program happening, we can partner with those people and provide these nutrients. And the stories of recovery and well-being, and kids that are now happy and engaged in learning and have better growth and are meeting their growth standards, and they're, the failure to thrive kids, it's showing up that they just start getting better. And so this is a malnourishment issue. Right now, we're at just over 100,000 servings a day to kids. We've got 5 million. We need you to partner with us to get this handled. So there's so much need out there. And, there is, I don't have this quote in front of me right now, but there's a famous economist and business analyst, and he says that companies of the future will be committing strategy malpractice if their business structure doesn't do something to add value to malnourished areas of the globe. So we've got to do business in the 21st century has to take care of those who wouldn't have the hope of having the opportunities that we have in the Western world. So the proof is in the pudding. Does this work? And I would like to invite my colleagues, Gary and Rhonda, to speak now. Now, I've chosen Gary and Rhonda because they started for two different reasons. If you guys can unmute and put your cameras on, that'd be great. One of them started looking for a business, and Rhonda started for wellness. So Rhonda, would you like to start? Share with everybody today your story of partnering with Mannatech.
Thanks, Sharon, and thanks for this wonderful resource that you provide for all of us every week. It's just awesome. I came to Mannatech because my friend Sue had been very ill for quite some time, and suddenly she started getting better. And I said to her, "What are you doing?" And she told me about these products, and I had a look at them, and I thought, this looks better than what I'm doing. So I switched, and I was in my early 50s. I was healthy. I thought I was doing pretty good for my stage of life. And but the difference that these products made to me, even though I didn't have any particular serious illness, maybe chronic congestion, things like that, but nothing that I thought was bad. The change was awesome. And the change was such that people I knew, within a couple of weeks, people were saying to me, "What are you doing?" My skin was glowing. I had more energy. I had less creaks and in my joints, and everything just seemed to be really great. So that's fine. And suddenly I found people were ordering products because of my experience, and they were saying, "Oh, this is great, this is great." And before I knew what was happening, the company was sending me money every month. Not a huge amount, but wow. And from very early on. So that was fine. We went along just operating like that. And at the time I had 4 jobs, so I certainly wasn't looking for a business, but I did buy the big pack. At the time it was $1,500 or something like that. So I started on the right foot quite by accident. So I'm working along with my 4 jobs, and life's busy, and housing my mother. So life was really busy. And the last thing I needed was another job or another activity. But one of my jobs was working 3 days a week for the government, which involved 3 work days and 3 hours a day travelling. And I was finding it really tiring doing all that, and it was hardly inspiring. And a little way in, I had the opportunity to have an appointment with a financial planner. And I wasn't in a terribly secure situation. I had been a stay-at-home mum, so I'd never been a career builder. My work was basically office administration, and then I went into workplace training. And I had about enough superannuation to last me the rest of my life, as long as I only lived a couple of months. And when I was talking to this financial planner, he said to me, "What's your exit plan?" And I sat looking like a stunned mullet, thought, exit plan. And I thought, my mother's likely to outlive me. I'm going to be doing this till I die. And that was a bit of a wake-up call, and I thought, I don't know that I like that prospect. And it sort of changed my thinking a little bit. And very shortly after that, the cheque I got from Mannatech for doing very little, just talking to people when they asked me, the cheque I got from Mannatech was equal to what the government was paying me to work 3 days a week and travel 3 hours a day on the bus to get there. And that was another wake-up call. I thought, this is crazy. This is crazy. And I thought, if I give this just a little bit more focus, and I really didn't even give it a lot more work, but just a bit more focus, within 6 months, I had doubled that. So I took long service leave at half pay, which gave me about 5 or 6 months, to decide whether I thought I could really do this or whether I was just, really silly and needed to keep doing the daily grind. After about 2 weeks, actually the first day that I didn't have to go back to work was Valentine's Day 2011, and I took Ron to breakfast till about 11 o'clock. And I thought, no, I'm not going back to work. So that had really set the pace, and it just grew from there. Now, I've never been one of Mannatech's superstars, but Mannatech has changed my life. Mannatech has given me back my life. It has freed me from the tie of regular job that you have to go to 9 to 5 every day. And in fact, for the last 3 months, my partner Ron fell down the stairs 3 months ago and broke his ankle, broke 2 ankle bones. And the last 3 months, my life has been largely looking after him and doing everything that has to be done in the household. And there's no way we could have done that if I had a regular 9 to 5 job. We're not rich enough that we could have afforded that full-time care for somebody looking after him all the time, but you just can't do that. It was exhausting enough just doing what we were doing, but without having to do a full-time job on top of it, it just would not have been possible. So I love Mannatech. I love the products. My body gets better and better. And the proof of the pudding is really interesting, as you say, Sharon. A number of my peers, prevention's really hard to get through to people sometimes, because it's not now, it's later. And I found after about 8, 10 years in the business and using the products regularly, I was meeting with friends that I hadn't seen for some time who live interstate, and finding the state of the health of my peers was frightening. So many of them had hit the wall with half a dozen autoimmune conditions, creaking around like old people. And we're not old, are we, Sharon? And it's just things, gee, this really has made a difference. One of my friends said, oh, you know what it's like, you get out of bed and creak off to the bathroom, and after you've had a shower you can walk properly. I thought, yeah, we used to do that. That doesn't happen anymore. And sometimes you don't even notice some of these things are happening. Sometimes suddenly something makes you aware that that's not happening anymore. And there's a number of things that even after all these years, and it's 16 years now that I've been using the products, and things still improve. So I just love it. And for health and for security and for lifestyle, I can think of nothing better.
Rhonda, pardon me? I love it. Yeah,
I think
love your
might
story.
have overdone my time.
That's okay. I love your story. I love you. I think it's really important. And thank you so very much for being here to share it.
Oh, thank you for having me on, Sharon. And just thank you for the job you do. It's just awesome.
Thanks, Rhonda. And Gary.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
I can, perfect.
Excellent.
So I know you were looking for a business and you had a business interest.
Well, to be honest, I wasn't looking for a business when it all cropped up. I mean, I had a really successful business. I owned the Australian National Skydiving Centre, which was my passion. I got to jump out of an aeroplane every day, a few times a day. It was just fantastic. It was a lot of fun. But as time went on with the business, I didn't really fall out of love with with skydiving business. It was really, as it got bigger and bigger, it was more and more successful, and the overheads were just unbelievable. I mean, you can imagine running, 2 or 3 aircraft all day long, every day, 7 days a week. Just the fuel bill would make your eyes water, and just massive overheads. And along with those overheads was this sort of roller coaster of income, because, if we had really good weather for a few weeks, the income went up and I could pay everyone and pay all the bills. And then, shock horror, would have 2 weeks of rain or wind or something like that, and down went the bank account, because all those fixed overheads all still had to be paid. And suddenly the income. So it really was a roller coaster ride financially. While it was quite small and, maybe 9 or 10 employees, it was a nice sort of little family business, a nice little team and everything. But it got bigger, and I ended up with 17 full-time, not massive business, but 17 full-time employees and about 35 part-time employees. At which time it became like running an adult daycare centre, and superannuation was coming in, red tape was coming in. We had, it was a kind of nightmare really, running all that. And every day running a sort of small business in that kind of environment, there were a few egos involved, and it was like neighbours every day, So I kind of took the fun out of it in a way when it was that big. And time, it was a 7-day a week. We had Mondays we were closed, but Mondays was the day I was running around like a chook with its head cut off, going to the bank, paying all the, doing all the, so it was 7 days a week. And because it was a sort of social scene as well, a lot of those, particularly the weekends, they were 18-hour days, and it was pretty full on. But as I say, I really loved it. But actually, it was a woman that worked for me, and I have an honours degree in marketing. And she said to me one day, "Have you ever heard of network marketing?" And I hadn't, even though I'd done an honours degree in marketing. I'd never heard of network marketing. But I got an open mind, and I said, "Oh yeah, that's what is it?" Because I'm interested in marketing, full stop. And I looked into it and thought, wow, this is a pretty interesting business model. And it ticked quite a few boxes in the, very low cost to get started. I didn't even mention that. You can imagine how much it cost to start a skydiving centre. I put everything I had into it, on the line, risk, huge risk, Well, network marketing was a tiny investment to get started. It had tiny overheads. You didn't have any employees. You had a residual income that wasn't affected by the weather. There were just so many things about it. I thought, well, no reason I could. And I was good at working with teams and people. I thought, well, I'll give it a go. And it was with a company that I ended up seeing why they had the reputation they had. It was a bit of a cult thing. But I fell in love with the model, the business model, and then started a long journey of looking for a company that I could really resonate with. And I was interested in health. I was, at the time, looking more and more towards my health and finding out more and more about I've actually found out way back then about all the chemical additives and stuff like that, so I had an open mind about that as well. But I just couldn't find the right company. They were you know, I joined probably 6 or 7 companies and just didn't like them, and they didn't really meld with me. I wasn't inspired by them as such. And then one day I happened to be at a meeting, and I met someone who said, "Have you heard of glyconutrients?" No, what's that? So I looked into glyconutrients, and that's when my sort of eyes got wider and wider, and I thought, wow, this really is interesting. And they were exclusive, and there were a few ticks in the box there where I thought, well, this is really worth a look. And I joined Mannatech. That was 20 years ago. Haven't left, haven't been with any other companies. There's no need. I've never had to chase a check. I've been paid every single month for 20 years with residual income. And I was able to sell the skydiving centre and really start living my dream, which was to live off the grid and be totally sustainable. So now it's given me the opportunity every day. I have no employees. We grow all our own food. We're 100% solar off the grid. Got a beautiful property. It gives me the time freedom to kind of work on that, because I can be doing something on the computer, and then next my wife says, "Can you come and cut this tree down?" or something like that, and I can go and do it. You've got total freedom. And I keep my finger in a few pies, and still skydive and still do different things that enable me to sort of come into contact. I'm not a total recluse, almost, but I can run a global business like we are now from the middle of nowhere. It's unbelievable. And I don't know what your dreams are, anyone listening to this call, but Mannatech and the network marketing model really does give you the opportunity to create the lifestyle that is your dream. It might not be living off the grid, growing all your own food, but literally you can run a Mannatech business from anywhere in the world. As long as you've got a computer internet connection, you've got a global business. And my business has been in 7 different countries. I'm able to communicate with everyone really easily. It's just fantastic. And I can still skydive and do all those things, but I don't have all the headaches and stress of that. And Mannatech's been a fabulous company to deal with, always getting better and always, coming out with things that are just amazing. I mean, the technology is completely unique. You won't find it anywhere else in the world. And above all, it works. There's no amount of money that can pay you for, the fact that you can help someone change their life, and you can meet them all over the place, and you say, "Oh, well, actually, I've got something that might be able to help you. Can't make any promises, but hey, take a look," and it completely changes their life. And there's no amount of money that can pay you enough for that feeling that you get when that happens. So Mannatech really got both. They got the business and they got the products to back it up, and you can stand behind it and be confident that it all works.
Yeah, and proud. Gary, thank you so very much. I think that gives people a really solid foundation of some quite varied backgrounds who have partnered with Mannatech. I appreciate being here, Gary. And one thing I haven't mentioned is you would have seen my young daughter. I was a late bloomer as a mom. You'll see my young daughter come in and serve me a special Mannatech coffee. And I've worked this business around my children, around my family needs, and I just can't put a price on that, actually. So to complete, I just want to offer this to you. Where do you see yourself? If any of this made sense to you, what are your goals? What's missing for you in your life? What would you like to achieve? Some people review this information and take a look and they say, yep, I got it. I want to be a partner. I want to create one of those business units. This is for me. I'm going to really give it a go. Some people say, listen, maybe not right timing for me, but I'd love to learn more about that nutritional glycan technology. And then some people will say, listen, you know what, not right time in my life, but someone has come to mind when you're talking to me, or I really appreciate you as a friend and I'd love to refer people to you. That's happened to me so many times. I have a lot of referral business because what we're in charge, aren't we? We're in charge of the ethics of how we run our business. So people are used to having us honest with them. And that feels good. You know, that referral market, that referral potential is the most valued and trusted aspect of a good business, is where people trust you and they say, go to my friend Sharon, she can help you. So I truly encourage you to get started today. You don't have to know everything. You can stumble your way through it. It's about using the resources and helping people. And, you know, really, this does give you the ability to own your future. It sounds like a marketing scheme, but, you know, so many people are sitting in their lives or in their house or in their car, and they don't feel like they have options. And there's people, like there's industries going to be going out. You know, right now the oil industry and the coal and the non-sustainable industries, they're hanging on by their fingernails. But all of us need to, the writing's on the wall, isn't it? That's going to change. So you can either sit there and be scared or fight it and go, this is wrong. You know, you can't take my job away or my income. Or you can look around and innovate. And we have the innovation option. So I love this quote from Richard Branson. I love all these quotes. I love all these pictures. But if someone offers you an amazing opportunity and you're not sure you can do it, which is 200% me, I was like shaking in my boots and did for years, just say yes. And then you learn how to do it. It doesn't matter. If you started a new job tomorrow, you'd know that it might take you a couple months or a year or longer, depending on how new it is for you. You'd have to learn new things, wouldn't you? Same as this. You absolutely have the capacity to learn how to do this. And as you will hear from all of our hearts today, this is a life of purpose. We can't help, no matter what we're offering to someone, to change their life. My life totally changed because somebody had the courage to offer this to me. So I invite you to get started, go back to the person that invited you to this information and join this great company for whatever area of what we have to offer is right for you. So I'll